Hi everybody, welcome back. This is class 3 of course 1 and you are in the Advanced Persistent Threat certification. The main goal of the certification is get you familiar with APTs, that is Advanced Persistent Threat. If you are already familiar and you have worked in the cybersecurity space as an information security officer or even as a consultant, you would come to know, or you already must have heard about APTs. But if you're new, this is a good starting point. I already went through the introduction, and in this particular class and forward, I'll go a little bit deeper, slowly, and get it introduced to also some common APTs which were discovered in 2010, which actually caused a lot of havoc worldwide. And if you kind of missed it, I'll get you familiar with that too. So again, coming back, in this class I'll be talking about cyber kill chain and advanced persistent threat lifecycle. And of course, I'll also get you more familiar with all the different characteristics around that, and get you a little bit more informed with what is an APT from that perspective. And let's actually start talking about the life cycle, right? And the life cycle can be easily understood by, if you look at this next slide, this is actually the life cycle of APT defined in very easy, very concise steps, right? And the term advanced persistent threat actually was used to describe your nation state or nation state cyber attacks. And these were designed actually to achieve a strategic advantage over one country over another, one nation over another, right? And today the term has kind of broadened, I would say. And this is basically and why it is broadened, because there is a wide variety of attacks, and the targets which basically are not just the nation state, but they target more and above and beyond that. That is, a lot of businesses get targeted because of monetary gain and so forth, right? So basically, cyber criminals have elevated the sophistication of their attacks and have become, more and more intelligent in stealing intellectual property. And that is why APTs are important for you to understand. And this particular life cycle or kill chain, which is how it is termed as, I will just kind of get you familiar with the kill chain first, all right? So if you look, kind of zoomed into it, the first step is reconnaissance, right? So reconnaissance basically is a step where the intruders, the bad guys, they have they do their target selection. They have done a good amount of research to arrive at that point where they can identify, segregate, select, and then start hone on their targets. And also the attempts is to mainly the bad guys, what they want to do is to identify the vulnerabilities in the targeted network. And again, this network could be your company, it could be a hospital, it could be organization, school, anywhere they could be targeting, right? A lot of the times what happens is people don't understand, entrepreneurs, company owners, security professionals don't consider themselves as, hey man, we are just handling some user data which is only specific to sales, or something like that. And we only deal with our client, and that's all it is. But what happens is, when attacks are launched, they will come into your system, and if you have access to any other systems, or they could use your system to launch attacks to an unrelated industry also. I mean, they would use your company and then launch say an attack on a nuclear plant, and then basically it is a strategy to hide behind somebody and also kind of evade a direct path which goes back to the C2, right? So reconnaissance, step 1 is very important. Now next step is weaponization. So basically they arm themselves. They don't arm themselves with your automatic weapons and so forth. They basically arm themselves with the right malware weapons, right? And these intruders, they create remote access strategies where they have their malware weapons, And these weapons could be, your viruses, worms, trojans, ransomware, malware. So all of them have one and only one purpose, that is to have and find vulnerabilities and get into a system. So they are tailored to one or more vulnerabilities. That's what they look for. That's what they are designed, and that's what the weapons of these intruders are. And these intruders, mind you, they don't show any mercy, and they don't attack one person. At one given time, they launch campaigns. That is a very common strategy, and you should know it by now. So they will launch a campaign, and they will hit 500,000, 100,000 industry businesses, and then it is all automated process. Nobody is sitting there and trying to launch these campaigns. And once they have a success, they have done the first reconnaissance has passed, weaponization has been done, and then comes delivery. In delivery, what they do is the intruders, they transmit the weapon to the target. So they first segregate you, right, as a company or any other company out there. Then they arm themselves with the right malware weapons. And then after that is once they have armed themselves with the right vulnerabilities, the right malware which they want to use, the right strain of that malware, and they could, all these are freely available on some dark web, darknet websites. They could have bought it maybe sometimes for some monetary value, and then they change that code. So that is a different strain of the particular malware, and now they have weaponized according to their campaign, according to who they are targeting. So how do they weaponize? Well, the weaponization and the delivery happens different ways, right? But in delivery time, once they have got their malware selected, maybe something which they bought, maybe something they created, right? And these intruders, what they do is they will send you maybe a spear phishing attack. They will launch, send you an email, and in the attachment would be the malware, right? Or it could be, it could be through a website, a phony website, where you get kind of lured into by saying, XYZ, whatever is interest to your business, and then, you get trapped like that, and that's one way of delivery. If you click on something, for you just, downloading a white paper, and you never know what that white paper is because, it sounds very interesting, very intriguing, very relevant to your industry. And it is a report, of 200 pages and blah, 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 and you want to download it. But then now you got caught in an attack, and you are the victim. Another way, very common way, is your USB drives, And earlier I showed, how the whole Mr. Robot, blog, and how they kind of use this strategy, right? So it is a very common strategy. You'll say, nobody does that. Well, actually, you'll be surprised. It is a very effective strategy. A lot of employees, they'll either use or pick up a USB drive if they find one, right, and try to see what is on it. We are curious minds, that's how we human beings are. Or they would buy something for cheap. They would say, there's a USB drive on sale, or some guy just was selling extra USB drives for $5, for 100 GB, or 1 terabyte for like $20, some unbelievable price, and you'll just buy it. You'll pay the guy too for his time, and you'll buy 5 of those. You paid him $100, and he actually got his gas money and some extra refreshment money, while he waits and watches and you to plug that USB and compromise your whole company. So be aware, don't put any USB devices. It could be a drive, it could be a USB a watch or something. It could be any device which connects, which has a USB charging port also. Don't rely on that. They could might well have some kind of malware, which otherwise it will work perfectly fine, and once you connect to your computer, the malware will deliver. The device will keep on functioning the way it is, but it's done its job, it's done the delivery part, has been completed at that time, right?